Okay, in this video I'd like to do the spacer design, which is on page 64 in the digital textbook. As you notice, I have the sheet layout opened up first. We're going to just draw the spacer design within this sheet layout. So immediately what I'll do is I'll go to File, Save As, and I'm going to change it to spacer, my last name, and I'll put a number beside it. Okay. Alright, so what I do is I get started. I'm going to draw the circle with a center diameter. I'm going to choose my center point to be anywhere on my screen, preferably off to the right hand side, off to the side of the sheet layout. I'll complete the drawing, the object construction, before I center it in the sheet layout itself. So the first diameter I'm going to put in is 1.25. Type that in. The next circle, I'm going to choose the center radius. I'm going to make sure that I come in and my object snap would need to be turned on, which is down here. Make sure it's turned on and snap to the center point of that circle. Snap to the center point, and now I'm going to type in a radius of 1.5. Notice the in your drawing the capital R is radius. The circle with a line through it is diameter. Alright, so this is a symmetrical part, so what I could do is I could take these two circles, I can copy them, select them both to copy, and I'll snap for the base point, and I'm going to slide it over to the right, making sure that ortho's turned on. So ortho's down here, ortho mode, F8 as a shortcut. Make sure it's turned on so it's nice and straight coming across. So I'm going to type 6 inches, because that's the distance across, and hit enter again to get out of the command, or hit escape, right click, hit enter or cancel. Many ways to get out of that command. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and draw a line at the top and at the bottom. So I'm going to go to the line tool, and I want to make sure, and it doesn't seem like it's on, I'm going to make sure that the quadrant object snap is turned on. So this quadrant object snap needs to be a check mark next to it, because we'll snap to the 12 o'clock quadrant on that circle, 12 o'clock quadrant on that circle. I'm going to come down and snap to 6 o'clock quadrant down below. Now I don't need these arcs here, so I'm going to go to Trim on the Modify Tool panel, select everything, and click and trim that material out, that arc. Alright, next thing I need to do is put a notch in here. So here's how I do it. I'm going to go to Copy that line down, making sure ortho's on, and type a distance of 0.5. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line in the center. Snap midpoint to midpoint. Put a little vertical line in here. Since this part is symmetrical, what we could do is this notch is 2 inches, so I could start in the middle, and I can copy this line to the right 1 inch, to the left 1 inch, and hit enter, escape out of that command. Now I need to erase the center line, delete it, and go to Trim, trim this excess. There we go. We have the spacer. The geometry is all constructed for the object. So now I'm going to center it up in the sheet layout. I'm going to draw my line like I did before, a diagonal line, snap from here to here, and make sure you see where I'm snapping. Snap to the top of the title block, not to the bottom, because that is our drawing space. Draw another line, snap from center point to center point, move it. I'm going to move, snap from midpoint to midpoint, and that'll center it all up. I'm going to get rid of those lines by selecting and deleting. And now I have the spacer design centered within our title block and our border. Okay? Alright, next thing we're going to do is apply the dimensions. And, I'm going to note for you that you should lay out the dimensions exactly how it's shown on the drawing. So we're going to go to Dimension, and you can double check your dimension style, make sure it's all good. It should all be saved from the dimension style settings that we've done before. So I don't need to go in there. I know it's set up. So I'm going to go on the annotation tool panel, and the first thing that I'm going to do, and I mentioned this before, is I'm going to choose my diameter dimension first. Drop down, and the reason why, you'll see, circle with a line through its diameter notation, 1.25 inches, 1.25. But look what it does. It puts a center point, or a center mark, in the object. So that's what I like to do first. I like to get those center marks in there first. So the next thing I'm going to do is radius. I'm going to put the radius over here. Now, in the drawing, that's where the dimensions are placed, and I want you to mimic that. Now, the problem we have is on the left side, we don't have a center mark, but we need one. So we're going to go to Dimension, drop down, and there's a tool in here, just simply Center Mark. Choose Center Mark, come in here, select your circle, and it drops it in. So with those center marks in place, what we could do now is go to the linear dimension, and watch where I snap, and this is why it's critical to have the center mark in already. I'm going to snap to the top of the center mark, and to this endpoint, and bring my linear dimension up, and notice we're going to have a gap in here. That's important. I want you to have a gap. I want you to have a gap on the endpoints as well. Alright, another linear dimension. I'm going to snap from here to here. Now watch what I do. I'm going to snap to the point of the other arrowhead so that these dimensions are lined up. I like for these dimensions to be all lined up. Okay, we want to put a linear dimension. Snap from this point to this point. I'm going to drag out. You're going to notice the 0.5 is outside the middle of the dimension itself. So you can manipulate this by clicking on it and snapping it inside. Now it's tight, but it will fit. Next linear dimension that we're going to put in is going to be at the bottom. Watch where I snap. I'm going to snap to the bottom of that center mark. Drag down, and you'll notice we have our gaps. Okay. Another thing we need to do is we're going to draw our center lines in. And watch how I do this. So I'm going to draw a line in here. Notice I don't have a gap. Select it, get the blue grips. Take that blue grip, grab a hold of it, drag it to the left, type my distance of 0.0625, which is a 1/16 of an inch. And I want that to be the gap, just like we have over here. Now this part of the center line needs to overhang the object line. So I'm going to grab that blue grip, drag it out, 0.25. So on this scale of drawing, that's the number we're going to use, 0.25, 1/4 of an inch overhang. So I'm going to put these lines on this side, on the right side, go to line, snap to that center mark, top of that center mark, top of that arc. I'm going to grab, select it, blue grip, drag it up, 0.25, come down here, grab that blue grip, drag up 0.0625. Another line to put in over here, snap, snap, grab the blue grip, drag it over 0.0625, drag this one out 0.25, 1/4 of an inch overhang. Zoom out, and notice I have most of my center line in. Now, I'm going to put a middle center line going across here that's going to have breaks. I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to snap a line from this center mark to this center mark. Escape out of that line command. Get my gaps put in. Select the line. Get the blue grips. 0.0625. Notice I have all my gaps around my center mark. Come over here. Drag this over. 0.0625. Hit escape. Alright, next thing is we're going to put these dashes in here. So in order to do that, watch my technique. I'm going to take a line, and I'm going to line this up with this vertical line up above. Normally we would want this to be precise, but in this case right now, we're just going to put this in real quick. And watch my technique. Copy this vertical line, copy it over 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to go backwards to the left, 0.0625, which is a 1/16. And look what I got. I got 3 lines here. I got a 16th and I got an 8th. I need another line though. Copy this line on the right, send it to the right, 0.0625. Okay, bear with me here and you'll see why I did these 4 vertical lines spaced out. I'm going to use these as a trim boundary. I'm going to go to trim, select everything, come in here and click, and that gives me these dashes, or the gaps rather. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm going to show you what happens. I move that out of the way, I'm going to line it up with the other vertical line over here. Look, I have a dash in here and 2 gaps. So let me trim this other side out real quick. Okay, I'm going to move it out of the way, these vertical lines. So I use that as a trim boundary, almost like a template. So now I have a center line in here that has a solid line, break, solid line, break, solid line, break, solid line, break. Okay? All right. So that's almost complete. One last thing we got to do is update. Make sure you update your title block text. Call this spacer. We need to spell it properly. Spacer. We're going to call this figure 2. Scale is going to be 1 inch equals 1 inch. Let's change the date. Update your dates whenever you complete your drawing. And put in your period number. Okay, so that's the spacer drawing. I want you to print it out and also submit this electronic copy on Classroom. Thanks for watching.